Yeah. Okay, so where were we? Okay, we were talking about methods in anthropology, which I gave you a lecture last week or probably last 2 weeks. I don't remember, but anyway, that was about how do you collect data when you are doing fieldwork. So this lecture is about what are your jobs when before you actually go to the fieldwork and after you finish your fieldwork. Hmm? Apa ni? So your your main objective is to collect data when you are going to the fieldwork. So you collect data, you collect whatever you can, whatever dance that you can observe, whatever events that you can record, audio record, video record, whatever recording that you have. The main objective is collect data. So you collect data through interview, you collect data through video recordings, you collect data through observations and whatnot. So there are fieldwork and also post fieldwork, which means it's before and after you are doing fieldwork. So fieldwork is about collecting data, as I said just now. So pre-fieldwork, it means that whatever preparation that you do before you go to the actual fieldwork, and while post fieldwork is whatever processes or your job or your work to be done after you go back from the field. It means that you go to the field, you go to the kampung, you go to the village to collect data, and after that you come back to your campus or to your office, to your hotel or whatever. That is when you do whatever post processes, post field work that you should be doing. So this lecture is about pre-field work and also post field work. So about field work, you normally in anthropology, so I mean a lot of anthropologists from the western countries or probably Europe or even in from the states, they like to travel to the other part of their world, especially in Asia, for example. So a lot of Americans come to Indonesia to do research over there. So the first thing that they do before they go to the fieldwork is to acquire language, which means you get yourself familiar with the linguistic pattern or whatever language that is spoken over there. So that means if you are an outsider, for example, Ren Ziyun here, she is Chinese from China, and perhaps she is interested to look at a dance that is performed by a Malay community in Malaysia. So she cannot be doing research. Actually, she can, but to make the research more effective, more efficient, and to have a quicker process during the collection of data is to acquire language. So you learn the language first uh, to 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 the benefit of learning other people's language is when you are doing interview, you get to ask question as a first person rather than using an interpreter to work as your proxy when asking questions. So from there you will develop some kind of connection with your informant, so it actually ease your process during interview session. So language barrier is quite an issue. So perhaps if you are from a different culture who is speaking a different language than the people that you are looking at or the dance that you are looking at. So make sure you learn at least some of the important language terminologies before you actually go to the field and make yourself familiar with the language. Um, I myself, before I went to my fieldwork in Sempurna, Sabah, for my master's degree, I stayed in Kota Kinabalu to make myself familiar with the linguistic pattern. At least, even though the people that I am interviewing in Sempurna, they are speaking Bajau language, or some of them are speaking Suluk language, but most of them can speak Malay, but with a dialect or specific patterns called Sabahan language. So I make myself familiar with Sabahan language by staying in Kota Kinabalu for more than a month, and I eventually can speak Sabahan like Sabahan people. And when I go to Semporna, people people thought that I was from Kota Kinabalu, that I was a Malay guy from Kota Kinabalu, and some are not sure whether I am a Malay or maybe perhaps I'm a Murut from Kota Kinabalu. But most of them thought I was from Kinabalu. That's how I do. So if you are let's say you are a Sarawakian trying to do research in Sabah, perhaps you can learn something about Sabah and not misappropriating, especially the BAH words, which are different in terms of usage in Sarawak and Sabah. But anyway, when people speak their language and you are speaking their language, you make themselves more comfortable when speaking to you, and it will fasten the process of acquiring the data, especially during interview session. Um, all right. So the next one is about dance. So pre-field work about dance, it means that you should learn the dance that you are looking before you go to the field. Make yourself familiar with the dance as though you are an expert of dancing their dance. But as you know, when you go to the field and you go to the kampung, you go to the village, you you might be wrong because you are learning from outside source. So that's okay, as long as you are familiar with the movements, as long as you are familiar with whatever choreography that you learn from outside of the community. That's okay. It is better to learn the dance first rather than going to the field and know nothing about the dance. So that's there are pros and cons, but that's okay. There are there are pros and cons in anything in most of things. But in my experience, when you learn the dance before you go to the field, it makes you it gives you an advantage to understanding the dance from the perspective of the people or of the community that you are studying. So the next one is to learn about the history and background of the community of the people. So um, this is very important because you are trying to link or you are trying to relate the dance that they are doing with the history and also the background of the community, especially the cultural background or religious background or whatever background that you can learn about the community. So try to find as much as possible the readings that you can in the library or from your friends or from your teachers or from anywhere. Find as much reading as you can before you go to the field. So you read first, you read their history, and then you read their background, and then you learn from history what are the things that you can do or you cannot do within the community. So from there you are trying to understand the people from the outside before you are trying to understand the people from the inside. So the next one is ethics. So perhaps you, I'm not sure about oopsie, but normally, as an academics who are doing research in the village and who are dealing with people, we have to perform some kind of ethics in the form of documentation. So we have a form. We have to design a form to get consent from people who are being interviewed by us. So before interviewing people in the village, you prepare a form, a form lah. You prepare a form to get consent from people because they are giving information from their cultural perspective. So ethics is very important. So you in the future you will not be accused of exploiting people about their culture. The next one is, of course, when you are doing research in the field, you are going to use some kind of equipment to record audio, to record video, perhaps to take pictures. Um, I warn you that if you are going for your fieldwork and you are only using your smartphone, it's not enough. Your smartphone may need to charge from time to time. It can only last for a maximum of 2 or 3 hours if you are recording a video. Try to have more equipments specific to its use. For example, if you want to record a video, try to have a video recorder separately, and try to have audio recorder separately, and then your phone can be used to snap photos. But normally I don't snap photos using my phone lah. I have my DSLR, a cheap one, but it does its job. But my point is to have a specific equipment during fieldwork is very important because you are doing a a multiple job at the same time. For example, you are watching or you are observing a dance that is performed by the community. So you port your video camera on a tripod, and then at the same time, while the video recording is in the process of recording the dance, you are handling the DSLR camera to snap photos. So that's how the specific use, specific items can be used during fieldwork. So it's important to have specific items for each specific use rather than using one gadget for all the use. So and also this in the pre-field work process, you have to test and learn your equipment before you go to the field. So especially when you are having a new equipment, so try to use that equipment before going to the field so you can learn to set up the settings in your equipment before you actually record or use in the field process. So approvals means, before you go to the field, before you meet people, before you engage with interview session, you get approvals from people that is significant to your research process. For example, if you are going to a specific village, you have to get approval from the head of the village. For example, you come to a rumah panjang, to a longhouse in Sarawak, you get approval from the head of Rumah Panjang first. So if you get approvals, people uh, uh, will be happy to help you, and they will accommodate you because of the head of the people have approved your presence. So that is why approval is very important. And also if you are looking at orang asli community in Malaysia, for example, you get approval from JAKOA, Jabatan JAKOA, JKOA, Jabatan Kebajikan Orang Asli, I think. but you can Google Jaguar after this. So you get approval from whoever institution who govern the community, or at least the head of the community, um, before going to the field. We don't want any trouble when you actually be in the field and people are rejecting you because you don't get approval first. So this one is very important, yeah. So you prepare a set of questions. That means at least you have a set of guidelines on what to ask um, questions during your interview session. If you can have set of questions which is projected towards your objective, that is good. But if you cannot construct question, at least you have a set of guidelines. For example, guidelines can be, you want to ask about the function of dance. After knowing about function of dance, perhaps you can ask about the structure of performance. How does it start? How does it perform? How does it end? Why is it performed? And who performs it? And types of question that you can set before you go to the field and set up your interview session. So risk assessment. Risk assessment is also important, no matter your gender is. So as long as you go to a new place, which is not familiar to you, there is a risk. For example, when I went to Sempurna, there was a time when I need to go to an island called Buhay. So I need to watch a ritual over there in the graveyard. So our boat was so the water get into our boat, so we nearly sunk over there. But that was the risk that I need to face during my time. So if you are going to a village that need to be that you need to travel a lot in the village, perhaps some transportation risk assessment, perhaps some safety assessment. For example, if you are a woman or if you are a girl, you might want to bring your friend during interview session when you are going to an interview of men in men's group, for example. So try to study what are the risks that you are going to have if you are conducting your fieldwork. Uh, and then this is cliche, but some people don't don't plan and don't schedule their fieldwork research because they think everything can be done within 3 days. That is wrong. Try to schedule ahead, which means try to have your schedule and try to get everything on the schedule before you go to the field. For example, you are going to the field in in 3 days, and after that you have to go back. So you only have 3 days. What will you do during the 3 days? So you set everything: first day, second day, and the third day. What are you doing on at night? So you have to do the planning carefully so that you won't be wasting your time during fieldwork. So for me, I always have schedule. I plan my research well, but I also have plan B if the schedule is messed up. For example, I schedule myself to interview the head of the village tomorrow morning from 9 to 11, for example. Suddenly, tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, the head of the village texts me he cannot come to the interview session. What do I do? So I need a plan B. So perhaps my plan B is going to see uh, going to drive myself around the village to see the location, to see the geographical location, perhaps to see where is the river located, where are the kampongs located, where are the town is located. So I get myself familiar with the village rather than not doing anything. So plan your schedule ahead to to make sure everything is done correctly and everything is according to your schedule. And always have a plan B. Connect and communicate. That means you connect and communicate with your people, with the community that you are researching, and always communicate with them before going to the field. Although maybe some of you will be researching about community that involve your relatives. Maybe you think your relative will support you in any way they can, but people also have other things to do rather than answering your questions. So please be sure that you communicate with them, remind them of when is your interview session, for example, and you always communicate with them to make sure everything is according to your schedule. Um, and other things that is not included here, perhaps if you need an interpreter to because you are researching people of different language than your mother tongue, you engage with your interpreter. So engaging with interpreter is very important because interpreter needs to understand what are your objectives. He or she needs to know what are you looking at rather than during the interview sessions you just ask the question using your language and the interpreter gives the interpretation of your question. It's correct, but it's not entirely correct. You need to make sure that the interpreter is um, is the interpreter needs to know what are you doing in the village and what are you looking at and what are you trying to understand about the community. So for the research, if you can apply funding, it's good, but if there is no funding, try to try to allocate some kind of funding throughout the process, so it will help you throughout the research process. And also because you are an undergraduate student, um, while doing your research, please communicate and meet your academic advisor before going to the field. So you inform your advisor before going to the field because he or she will give you advice on what to do during the fieldwork. So if you communicate with them, reporting to your academic advisor during the research, sorry, not academic advisor only, also your thesis advisor or your research advisor, he or she will advise you on what to do if you have problems, if you have difficulties, and so on. And also, if you meet your academic advisor before going to the field, he or she may help you with selecting your research topic, especially in focusing what you need to do and what you need to ask during your research. All right. For fieldwork, basically, during the fieldwork, you keep everything simple. Please do not complicate things and trust your instinct. You need to be sure that you are safe during your research. You need to go back to your campus and doing post processing and doing analysis for your thesis. But during the research, you need to trust your instinct and keep yourself alert all the time during the data collection. So you uh, and then uh, in the village, oh, not just in the village lah, perhaps in other places as well. So please be respectful because you are dealing with people. So you have to let people know who you are, tell them about your project, and let them know that they do not have to participate in the study if they do not want to. But I encourage you to get to know the people first before you asking complicated question or sensitive questions to the people. So uh, during my research, I get to know the people for almost a year before I ask a complicated or complex question about their dance culture. So from there, they will trust you not just as a researcher but as part of the community. So be mindful of the do's and don'ts in the village, especially when you are dealing with different culture from yourself. And then when you are doing fieldwork, please do not hesitate to ask for help. You cannot do this on your own. So you ask assistance from your friends. For example, you ask assistance from your family, for example. But be uh, be clear to your assistants that they assist you throughout the research. Please do not have them interfere with your findings or interfere with your processes, especially during the interview sessions. And then basically I tell my students to enjoy fieldwork as much as you can, because fieldwork moment is a rare opportunity, because the fieldwork itself is designed by you, and it's a moment which is not mm, not just happen in any occasion. So please enjoy the moment, take a break if you can, and remember to also have fun. So the objective of your research is to collect data. Make sure you collect data lah, using whatever methods that you want to, especially interview and also observation. So and not to forget participant observation, where you dance together with the community. For the fieldwork, as I said just now, you get yourself accepted within the community. So if the community reject you, please be quick and report to your supervisor, and perhaps you can change your topic and research other community. And positionality. So this is a very big issue for a researcher, because you are there in the field and you position yourself as a researcher. It's also a problem because you are trying to be as part of the community. So you are juggling between your position as a researcher and also as part of the community. um, this is also important to realize your position when you are researching your own community, that you from your kampong, for example. So you as a guy or a girl that was born from the kampong, you have a certain kind of relationship with the village, with the community. So you have to be sure you position as a researcher and also as a people who were born from the village. So please don't get mixed up, especially about the data that you collect. Please do not assume you know everything. You may know about something, but you have to validate your knowledge about the community by asking questions. Okay. Experience, just as I said before, please experience the feel, try to have fun, and please do not stress about it. Take a break if you can. And also field notes. Field notes is something simple but is very important. Some of you may have a small book like this as your field notes. It's good because when you go to the field, you assume you have record everything as an audio. For example, you record everything. You record every interview session using your audio device, but to have everything noted in your field notes is will make your life easier, because if you record everything and you don't take note on everything, you will have to hear or listen to that recording again when you go back from the field. So that will consume more time, rather than having to just read from your field notes. So please make sure you take note on everything that you learn or you see from the field. Backup. So from the data that you collected in the field, especially video recordings, audio recordings, photos that you shot during the field. So when you go back to your hotel, for example, or you go back to your home, you will transfer everything to your computer, for example. So please back up whatever that you transfer to your computer. Perhaps you can have two or three backup in your external drive, or perhaps cloud drive that you have in Google or something. So make sure you have backup, and we don't want you to lose everything that you have collected. Log everything. It means field notes is whatever notes that you take when you are doing uh, a research, when you are experiencing the research during when you are doing interview or participating while you are dancing in the field with the community and whatnot. Log everything means when you go back to your home, or right after the day is finished, you log everything. So you from the notes that you are having, you log everything. You note everything that you did not note during your interview. For example, you ask a question and people answer the question, and you manage to write down two or three keywords because the person speaks very fast. And then when you go back to your hotel, you realize that there are a lot of keywords that you forgot to write down. So that means log everything. It also means that you take down the notes that you forgot to take down during your field notes. So log everything will also means that you for example, you have a lot of data from your photos, from your video recordings, from your audio recordings. So these are a lot of data that you don't know what is it. So you transfer everything to your computer, and then when you see the document, it's a lot. Perhaps 2,000 photos, 200 videos, and 100 audio recording. So to know which is which, you have to log everything. For example, video shoot number one, what is it? Video shoot number one is about interview session with Uncle This and Auntie Dad and head of village. Video number two is about the scenery of the kampong, for example. And video number three is about the fisherman catching fish at the lake beside the kampong, for example. So you log everything so that you don't have to open one by one of your data in your computer. So when you have your logbook, for example, you during when you are writing your thesis, you just take a look at your logbook, and from there you will see what do you have from your fieldwork, and then only you go back to your computer and open it for whatever purpose that you are doing. Organize data. um, when you are doing fieldwork, you what you do is collect data, but what you can also do is organize data during the fieldwork itself, because you remember everything from whatever happening during daytime. For example, you don't do anything during the nighttime. During the daytime, you collect data from interview, video recordings and whatnot. So there are a lot of data in the form of recordings, audio recordings, video recording, and photos. So at night, what you do is you organize data one by one. which will make your life easier when you go back to your campus. So this one is easy. You yourself organize your data in your phone, for example. So from there, if you don't organize your data, and if you wait to organize your data after you go back to your campus, you will forget everything. And then it turns out that you will not organize anything at all. That will make your life miserable when you are when you are writing your thesis. Adapt and improvise means, when you are doing fieldwork research, anything will happen. So especially unexpected things will happen. So please be aware that there will be unexpected things. So what you do is you adapt to the situation and you improvise. You change your plan. You be quick to adapt with the situation, and please don't please don't do nothing lah please don't do nothing during your field work. As long as you adapt and improvise with the changes, you will be doing okay. And lastly, please make sure you return to your origin. For example, here is campus lah. Like my time, I was very sure to return to Kuala Lumpur after I doing my research in Sabah, because in Sabah a lot of things happen that will make me stay in Sabah forever. So yeah, if I don't be sure of returning to Kuala Lumpur, I will stay in Sabah and I'm not teaching Dopsi at all. Okay. Anyway, that's another story. But for post field work, this is very important. I'm sure your supervisor will also teach you this, but this one is very important also in anthropology, because as I said before, you get organize your data, and then you reflect on whatever that you collect in the field. What you have done wrong, what you have done correctly, what can you improve. You reflect on everything. Perhaps if you need to go to the field again, if you need to go to the kampung again, you will have yourself improve when you collect your data. Field notes, head notes, and digital notes. I talked about this, interpretation or personal experience. So, when you are doing post field work, it means you will be analyzing a lot of data. So from there, there will be time that you will have to interpret your data, because the community did not give you an answer to your question. For example, you ask one question, people do not have answer for that, but you have set of data that will help you to understand that problem. So from there, you will have your interpretation as an academic from your personal experience and from your personal readings and your data. The next one is critical and academic thoughts. Make sure you think critically. If you cannot, if you get stuck, please see your supervisor. Please see people that you trust can help you with an academic thought. Notate. Normally, music people, when they go to the to do field work, they come back and they notate every music that they have recorded. But dance people, normally they don't notate. They just have the dance in the form of video or photos only, which is okay for now. But if you can do a simple notation using laba notation, it's great, and it will help you throughout the process of writing your thesis. Basically, if you can notate, you notate straight away. Analyze, this is obvious. Of course, you have to analyze your data if you come back from your fieldwork, and then you write your thesis. Okay. Any question for now? Any question for now? I have the same um, lecture on this in my YouTube account, but it's on Malay version. But perhaps Ranziyun cannot understand from there. But all of you guys, if you want to look at this lecture again, you can go to my YouTube and watch from there. Okay, let's take a 5 minutes break, and then we shall continue with the next lecture, which is ethic and emic. Shall we? Okay.